Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Dadpocalypse Now show. Sorry for the late start tonight. Our guest, Butch Patrick, who you all know from the Munsters, he played Eddie Munster on the show, was having some technical difficulties. So we weren't able to get him through at the moment where we were trying to work him out. So we are going to have to reschedule him for a later date. But here very shortly joining us will be our good friend of the show from the Holzer Files and Darkness Radio and everything else that he's done. Dave Schrader will join us, and at the top of the hour, Jamie Kaler from Tacoma FD will also be coming back to join us. Again, for those of you just tuning in, our guest tonight, Butch Patrick, was having some technical difficulties. That's why we got kind of a late start. We weren't able to get him through, but we are going to reschedule him for another time, and we'll bring him back then. Very shortly, as I said, Dave Schrader will be joining us. And so, just to kind of catch everybody up on what's going on with the show, guys, thank you so much for the tremendous success that the show is having. It's an amazing amount of people that are pouring into the show. We're getting a ridiculous amount of viewers and downloads. And so by all means, we air every night or every Tuesday night here live at 9:30 p.m. And we will also be Wednesdays right after the show is transposed over. It is able to be downloaded in audio form via anywhere you get your podcasts, either iTunes, iHeartMedia, Spotify, anywhere you get that stuff. You guys can get that show. Again, I apologize that for those of you tuning in to hear Butch Patrick tonight, he was not able to get in due to some technical difficulties. But we are going to reschedule him for a later date. Next week on the show, we have author and paranormal hallmark Jeff Belanger. He's going to be coming on to talk about his new book, which is a memoir. I've just started to read it now. It's a fantastic read, and he's going to be coming on to talk about his life with the paranormal, his new book, all kinds of stuff like that. The week after that, we're going to have Mallory Lewis and Lamb Chop, the actual Lamb Chop puppet. She'll be coming on to the show to talk about her relationship to Sherry Lewis, who was a personal hero of mine growing up. And her daughter Mallory took over when Sherry passed away, and she will be coming on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our guest, Mr. Dave Schrader. Hello.
That's Darth Schrader to you.
Darth Schrader. That's cute.
Yeah, how you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing fantastic now. Thanks for dropping in.
You got it. Anytime you need me, I'll be there.
Thank you. God, you're handsome.
Well, thank you. I'd like to disagree, but you're not. You asked me to come topless, so you're right. I shaved my head just for you.
I appreciate that. You only have to do the first 15 topless. After that, although if you put a shirt on after that, I'm docking pay.
So here's a story for you. I will tell my Butch Patrick story while you deal with that. So for those of you that are fans of old TV and comedies, I'm still a huge Monkees fan, and Peter Tork came to Chicago to perform at a bar when I was maybe 17, and his opening band was Butch Patrick and the Monsters. So I went to go see this show. We missed the opening band. We came during the break in between, and my mom got me into the bar. So of all people, my mom paid for us to go in and watch Peter Tork perform and told him I was 21. They gave her the side eye, but they let me in. So we were there, and I'm in the bar area, and we're waiting for Peter's set to start, and there's this striking blonde at the bar, and I'm chatting her up, and this guy comes out, and he comes scooting over by the blonde, and he starts flirting with her, and she's like kind of in between both of us trying to decide who to talk to, and finally he steps around and he goes, "Hey, I'm trying to have a conversation here. And I said, well, we were having a conversation first. And he goes, do you know who I am? And I went, no. And he goes, and then he turns around and walks out of the room. He comes back a few minutes later and hands me an Eddie Munster autographed picture and a Eddie and the Monsters t-shirt. And hands it to me. And we end up talking for hours. And it was really cute because my mom was there and he's like, dude, how old are you? And I'm like 17. He goes, how'd you get in a bar? I'm like, my mom brought me so I could see Peter Tork. He goes, dude, that's so cool. I want a mom like that. And he goes over and he goes, hey, Mom, I'm Butch Patrick. And my mom's like, what? So Butch Patrick and my mom and I got to sit there and shoot the breeze for a while. He was a really nice guy. And then I got a chance to work with Butch at a couple of Wizard World conferences.
Right.
Ursula Bialski's Chicago Paracon, and at a couple of monkey conventions, believe it or not. And I led panels with Butch.
There are monkey conventions?
There were. Yeah, back in the 1980s, 86 through 88, there were the 20th anniversary of the monkeys.
Wait, how many monkeys are left?
Two monkeys, two Beatles. I'm hoping they're going to come together for one kick-ass
Yes,
concert.
that needs to happen.
Right? You got to have
that need to happen. Yeah, for sure.
Paul, Ringo, Mickey, and Mike. Boom! Biggest show on earth.
Ringo Starr is still alive?
Yeah, Ringo's the oldest of the Beatles.
And he's hanging in there, huh?
Yeah, and he actually looks good. He's full on jet dyeing the hair though. So
I do that with my leg hair.
As you should, my friend. Why not?
I don't want to be that guy. I don't want the salt and pepper legs.
Is that a stab at my slightly weird mustache? So I noticed in season one,
a gay skunk sat on your face.
I noticed in season one, this side was much browner. All the rest is kind of white. And then I just have this one kind of tan section of my goatee. But, this is something, talking about dads, this is something they don't prepare you for as you get older. That hair stops growing here and starts growing here and here and on the tips of your ears. I'm starting to Wolfgang Munster myself.
I know. You actually are a member of the family.
Yes, Eddie and the Monsters. It's pretty cool. When we started Darkness Radio back in 2006, I think one of our first celebrity guests was Pat Priest, who played Marilyn Munster. Yeah. And I was racking my brain trying to remember how we got connected, but we did. And she came on and did our show and talked about the Munsters, and she was awesome, just delightful. But it's funny, today I'm watching the news, and I don't know if, like me, you kind of keep an eye out for this stuff, but there's this big news story that now Disney has taken 7 of their classic movies and they've made them unavailable to children. So the only way children can watch them now is with parents letting them watch it, and then they've got that disclaimer. And it's just so strange to me because I think of Dumbo and I'm like, what's racist about it? And then, there's the scene with the crows.
Right.
And I never thought of that as racist growing up. I never thought that was a slam. Now, obviously, I'm a white male, white privileged male.
Yeah, you're so white, you're almost clear.
Exactly. I go out, take my shirt off, and the FAA starts calling my home and saying I'm blinding pilots for miles. But it's interesting when you live in a certain mindset, how you don't notice these things. And there are changes taking place around us, which I understand why. You've got to alert people and realize it was a different time, a different era, things were going on. But some of the movies that they talked about, I was like, wow, this is crazy that this is considered racist now. Because again, as a kid, I never put 2 and 2 together that this was something negative. But I wasn't impacted by being a person of color to know that was offensive. I'm just surprised Breakfast at Tiffany's with Mickey Rooney has not been pulled from every classic movie channel under the sun. Remember, he plays...
Right, yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah, he's got the bad wig on and the buck teeth and the thick Coke bottle glasses, and he's pretending to be an Asian guy. And it's so weird, but going back in time, kind of talking about Butch Patrick and all the things that were coming up, Jay, what were your staples growing up? What were the the kid shows that you could not miss.
Okay, let's see. Kid shows I couldn't miss. Actually, the Munsters was one of them.
Right.
Punky Brewster was a big one for me, and for whatever reason, the show traumatized me as a kid.
Are you watching the new reboot that's on?
We
Peacock?
have so Melissa had never seen Punky Brewster. She never saw it. So we're watching the old ones first, so that she can then jump in and not, because obviously she's not. I mean, she probably would get it because I'm sure they've made it accessible, but she wants to do it the right way and watch the old one first, and then we'll jump into the new one. That show traumatized me. There are 2 episodes of that show that really get me. There's one where they go camping in the woods and they get lost in a cave, and literally all of her friends die in the episode. Like it's horrifying. I mean, it's a ghost story, and it's literally. They had this big rubber spider that she fights. She's 8 years old, 8-year-old girl fighting a spider. And
Punky
her dog,
power.
Yeah, exactly. And she uses punky power, and her dog gets involved. And as a kid, I saw this spider thing, and I was like, "Holy shit, I can't take this."
Too much pressure.
Because and then we just rewatched it, and I'm like, I see now why this was so. It turned me off from cave exploration for years.
Wait a minute. So that turned you off from cave exploration, but Vincent Price hearing voices and stalking the Brady kids wasn't enough to keep you out of caves?
No, I guess that also is a factor. But the punky one really struck me. Well, Vincent never attacked them.
He tied them up. He kept them captive.
True.
He kept them captive in a cave. That was terrifying to me. I was like, what the hell is happening to the Brady kids?
Yeah, that was. Yeah, they how did that even at what point did the writers stop and go, you know what? Well, let's have the Bradys kidnapped.
Well, I think that's what drove the father crazy, Robert Reed. Mm-hmm. Is he just thought these storylines are so stupid. And he wanted to be an actor. He wanted this to be something special. And I'm going to try to connect you with Susan Olsen to get on the show.
Oh, I would love that.
You know what I should do is try to get you the two Cindys. Two Cindys.
Jennifer Runyon?
Yes, Jennifer Runyon. I should see if I can get you the dual Cindys on the show. But
Gwendolyn Pierce? Yes.
Yes.
I'll take it.
Yes, sir. But that was you see that he absolutely loved these kids and treated them like his own and was very respectful to them.
Right.
But from what I hear, he just was so horrified by how campy the show was. But, I wonder now if he could sit back and look at it, if he would be able to watch it with a different set of eyes.
It could be. I mean, it's so iconic.
Right.
I'm sure you watched WandaVision.
Yes.
Look at Marvel is one of the top number one things in the universe right now, and they're drawing the top rated show on Disney Plus. They're drawing from all those old shows, Brady Bunch,
right.
The Munsters, all that stuff. They're so embedded in our culture.
Well, see, I grew up. I grew up in 1967 was when I was born. What year did you hatch?
77.
77. So we're 10 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
So you were still in the golden age of TV.
I was,
getting up Saturday mornings, really kind of stuck through till about 1990. I would get up early on Saturday mornings so that I could watch the Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner show.
Right.
I couldn't miss Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner. My favorite was when Bugs Bunny subbed in for the Roadrunner because the Roadrunner was sick or something in one episode. I just always loved that. You remember that?
I don't remember that one.
Oh, yeah. And so Wile E. Coyote has to square off against Bugs.
I'm sure that went well.
And then there's the one where the 2 kids are laying in front of the TV watching the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. And the kid's like, why doesn't he ever catch the Roadrunner? Right? And it was just this kind of fun. I like those instances of the cartoons. But I got up for that. I got up for my favorite, which was Sid and Marty Krofft's Land of the Lost.
Oh, I loved it.
And I apologize. I'm old. I don't remember if I told the story last time I visited with you, but when it came out on DVD, I went out and I bought the entire series of Land of the Lost. I bring it home. I tell all my kids, I'm like, guys, we got to watch Land of the Lost. Forget what you think you know about Jurassic Park. Nothing compared to what we're about to watch. My kids are like, all right, we make popcorn. We get in. My kids are spread out on the couch. I'm sitting on the floor with my bucket of popcorn and my soda. Starts up. Marshall, Will, and Holly on a routine expedition. And I'm looking at this and I'm slowly losing my mind because this isn't how I remember it, but it is how I remember it. But it's all green screened horribly. The acting is miserable. The stories were crazy. We literally made it 5 minutes in to this show.
Oh.
And slowly my kids would do this. And then they'd get up and walk out. And one by one, they all left me. And finally, my little girl stands up and just puts her hands on my cheeks. And she goes, I love you, Dad. I'm going to go in my room now. And I was left alone 10 minutes into the very first episode. Nobody else would watch it with me. And I just realized that it's a different world. You know, the kids are up. And I'm like, these are the same kids who someday are going to be rushing to show their kids the Pokemon cartoon they grow up on. Right? They're mocking my show, and their show is filled with Pika, Pika Pee, Pikachu, Pika Pika Pikachu. Right? That's going to be like their legacy, and I can't wait for them to have their kids look at them like, what drugs were you on?
Well, and here's the thing: my kids are going to go forward showing Paw Patrol.
Yeah, well, at least those are stories that were good. I think Paw Patrol will be around forever because it's got
whoever sold their soul to make that show. Like, I don't know how often you pay attention to it, but it's on 9 to 10 hours a day here, and because now the twins are watching it, and like literally any trend that comes in. So like superheroes, they become superheroes for like a whole season. Like all race cars, they're doing a whole race car thing because Mickey, like that whole like. And then there are all the toys, and of course our 5-year-old has to have all the damn toys. And I can't take it.
Yeah, I can't get where he would need all those toys, Jason. As I look behind you and see a full-size turtle.
Those are collectible action figures.
I know. I used to have a wall dedicated to all of my Batman collectibles. And my kids just wanted to play with them so bad. And I'm like, no, they're collectibles.
A friend of mine, he hosts the show in LA called The Fork Report on Drive Time Radio there, and he and I were talking about how he has his son has toys and Daddy has toys, and only one of those two people share them. And I've actually caught Jay sneaking in here and stealing stuff. He took the remote to my Iron Man suit, and I found it down in within his toys, and I was like, "What were you doing with this?" And he's like, "I was gonna summon your suit." And I was like, "First of all, that suit only comes to me. It will not work for you, and it will not come to you. So give me the remote and don't ever touch it again." So I don't know. I know that Paw Patrol is controlling my children's mind, and even the twins now watch it. So like it's going to be on here for at least the next 5 years. And I'm concerned because like who the hell is running that town? like the mayor is completely inept. That one guy, Jake, he shouldn't go anywhere by himself ever because they're always in danger. And this 13-year-old kid who has no parents, he's just, and he has a lot of money to build all this tech. And they never tell you where this money is coming from. Is it government funded? Is it subsidized?
Folks, let's just take a moment to reflect that while he's complaining about the idea of where does Paw Patrol get their money, he has a 6-foot-tall, full-size Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, but asks no questions about how the turtle got in the ooze, grew that big, learned English when his tongue still is too short to actually speak, and that part doesn't bother him. But Paw Patrol is really underneath Jason's skin.
Because one of these things is science, David.
One of these things is science. I think you are right. Now go out and fight, my turtles.
Look, I'm not saying there's not some questionable things in Ninja Turtles. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying Paw Patrol as a concept has some holes. And I'm a little cynical about it. And maybe if I wasn't forced and subjected to it 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, I'm putting in 70 hours of Paw Patrol. And we have portable DVD players in the car. So when we're driving, they're playing. So it's not even just at home. It's while we're on the road too. And there's an episode where there's a cop siren, and anytime I hear it while I'm driving, I immediately think I'm being pulled over. And so I immediately look back to see what's going on. And I'm never actually being pulled over.
Tossing your beer bottles under the car with the kids in there.
Hide my opens, because that's not legal here.
Oh God.
Yeah, I don't know. I just can't
see, but at least those are good moralistic stories. There was nothing morally redeeming about HR Puffin stuff, or Land of the Lost, or even Butch Patrick's second show, Lidsville.
Oh my gosh. So after I found out he was on that show, I decided I would watch some of that. Without being in an altered state of mind, I couldn't do it.
Sid and Marty Krofft had to have been smoking every type of drug to create the shows that they came up with.
Every single one of them is like that.
At one time. Yeah, there was they were rolling PCP into their ecstasy dipped weed and then lighting it with a meth crystal. I don't know that. Yeah, that every one of their shows, but I loved it. I grew up. I loved it.
I was a Banana Splits fan.
Yes, me too. I've got the whole series. I had to buy them bootleg because they don't sell them. I love the Banana Splits growing up. Right? Did you know that was their take? That was Hanna-Barbera's take on the Monkees.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. And when you look at them, you got Drooper.
Monkey.
You've got the Drooper who's got the hat on.
The hat,
the dog, like Mike Nesmith. You've got Bongo, or what Fleagle, Beagle, Drooper, and Snork, right?
Yes.
So Fleagle or Beagle, whichever one is the Mickey Dolans of the band, looks just like him even as a puppet.
I never caught this.
Yeah, so watch it, and there's articles about it. But yeah, that was their attempt to cash in on the Monkees' popularity.
Really, I didn't know that. I know that they didn't they just re-release a movie as a horror movie.
Yeah, like it has continued on all these years, and I haven't seen it, but I'm treading lightly. I kind of want to watch it, but I don't.
I do too. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, we've got another guest about to join the show from Tacoma FD and the Dadlands, Mr. Jamie Kaler.
Look how professional you guys are, and I look like I'm writing my manifest, like my Unabomber manifesto about technology.
Where are all the red strings going out to all the papers coming into one picture of Osama bin Laden?
Dave,
look, he's
Dave, it makes sense, man. When you look at it in its entirety, the whole thing makes sense. I'll show it to you later. I have a pamphlet I want to send you.
I love it. So
great to see you guys. I just finished cooking my third meal of the day, breakfast, and then I just made chicken parmesan for the kids who were just reading books on Epic. Just I put it down, they were like, great. Not even hey, thanks for my third meal of the day and for doing the dishes 15 times today and the 75 snacks, old man Butler. Keep moving.
Hey, Jamie Kaler, I want you to know that every woman watching right now is going.
Right? My mother from heaven is looking down like that.
Yeah, every mom is going, tell me again about how tough it is, Jamie Kaler. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, well, we've all had it. I know my wife's over there going.
Well, you have 75 children, my friend, so you definitely went a little harder than I did.
We were shooting the breeze about our favorite childhood shows growing up. I said mine were, I was kind of in that wheelhouse of the Sid and Marty Krofft stuff, the HR Puffin stuff, and Lidsville, and Land of the Lost, and Bugs Bunny, and all of that. What was your go-to every Saturday morning, Jim?
Johnny Quest.
Oh,
yes.
Yeah, great one.
Dude, Race Banyan is the man. And it was so funny. It's so funny. We're talking not then I grew into like Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley and that stuff. But before that, it was Johnny Quest. Obviously, everything you just said, HR Puff and stuff. You know what? Another one, an obscure one, Hong Kong Phooey. I had a Hong Kong Phooey lunch.
I love Hong Kong Phooey.
Hong Kong Phooey, faster than a human eye.
Yeah. And what's funny is now I kind of do voiceovers sometimes, and I'll meet people and they go, "I worked on that." I was like, "What?"
Oh, that's so cool. Wasn't that Scatman Crothers?
Scatman Crothers.
I never met him. Scatman Crothers. I have not met him, but yes, he was like the man back then.
He was doing like so many voiceovers back in the day. He was rocking that.
But then he met that tragic end when Jack Nicholson put the axe in his chest. You know, it's that it all goes like that.
The shinning.
Jamie, how's homeschooling going this week?
You know, it's kind of a joke, but you ever watch Band of Brothers?
Yeah.
One of the greatest shows of all time. I know homeschooling, it's tough to equate to war and World War II in particular, but there's a guy in it, the guy who's the superhero who just runs around impervious to bullets, and the one dude who's absolutely scared out of his mind. He's just terrified all the time, which honestly would probably be me. At one point in Band of Brothers, he goes, how do you do it? I mean, how are you not afraid? He goes, your problem is you think you're still alive. As soon as you accept the fact that you're already dead, war is actually really easy. And in some odd way, I have like accepted my fate. And so, you know, the end is in sight. They're starting to go back 1 week on, 1 week off. They're going back next week. So, you know, they're playing in the band and the ship's almost underwater. So I can almost just get a nice long nap.
I love that. I love it. I feel so bad. My wife has been thrown into the deep end, the Shark Tank, because she's suddenly a teacher, mom, everything, and I just hide in my bedroom as much as possible to avoid
helping.
I know your wife. And she is a superhero, my brother. Yes, you did well.
Jay, I sucked in school when I went to it.
Right.
The last thing my children need is me kicking off my shoes to help them count. That's not where we need to be at this. And I can't figure out new math. I can't figure it out. I can't figure out why they're making everything 14 steps longer. I understand engaging children's brains and making them learn different ways. But when I can just put a 1 and a 2 over a 4 and a 3 and give you your answer, I don't know why I need to make a box and put dots and put the numbers and then round up and then round down. And it makes no sense. I can't. I throw my hands up.
What's so hard about 7 plus alligator equals 23?
It seems and the train gets to the station at 5:15. The answer is very obvious. So listen, you've seen my posts. I post very often about like seriously this crap. I'm actually really good at math in a weird way. Like I think it's a normal thing that your brain goes to the 10 or finds shortcuts. It doubles it and subtracts 3. Like however you do it, you do it. You do you, right? And so I didn't understand that most people don't do that. They don't have, their brain doesn't work that way, and they are incapable of, it's either rote memorization to go like 7 plus 5 is 15, or they break the 8 up to go 7 plus 3 is 10, and then there's the 8 is 3 and 5. Yeah, it's 52 steps. But
did you just say 7 plus 5 was how much?
7 plus 8 is 15, but what they do, they make you break the 8 up to 5 plus 3 so that it's always about getting to the 10, and then making it simpler, which I kind of do in my own brain. I don't know how anybody else does math. You know, everyone's got their own thing but when I was a kid, we just memorized the tables, the multiplication tables, right?
Right, yeah.
What they're trying to do, and I do understand it. It's super painful, and it's super painful, but I understand the logic of it, that they're trying to make the kids think a certain way, I guess. I don't know, but you've seen, I've posted like, seriously, this is the new math. It's
wait,
like
so why was math at some point broken that we had to do this?
It's Canada. I know Canada's involved in this. because
Wait,
they're pissed
you're
off.
like-
We didn't go over to the centimeters bullshit back in the day. This is their retaliation.
Isn't Minnesota now part of Canada?
No, we have seceded.
I would go to Canada. So my kid's doing measurements right now. And so, I have to sit there and go, how many inches in a foot, how many feet in a yard or whatever. And honestly, why aren't we metric? The rest of the world is metric, and it works on a much easier system of 10, 100, 1,000, as opposed to 12 inches is a foot, 3 feet is a yard, and a cord of wood is, it's like, it should be. I think metric is the smartest way to do it. I don't know why we aren't. We're Americans, and we're like,
I didn't realize you're a communist, Pinko.
Yeah, exactly.
I can't. It shorts my brain out. And you know what I want to understand here, Professor Kaler?
Yes, sir.
Why is my daughter getting a B+ in Spanish and failing English?
That's such a good joke, Dave. That's such a good joke.
I wish it were a joke. I got no answer for it.
Did you read the subtitles on Spanish?
That. I might throw that in my act, actually. That's pretty tight.
It's all yours.
They go like, wait, she's she's failing English. That's so funny. Well, I did a joke about the fact that, so my daughter's in 2nd grade. We're doing that crazy math you were talking about. And I took a test with her, and we together got a 40 out of 43. And I was like, how did I get 3 wrong? A, B, I don't even know. Like, she goes, well, what did we score? I go, well, 40 out of 43 is 80 out of 86. I don't know what it is out of 100. So I can't really, it feels like it's a B+, A-ish. I don't know, like, the math of it all. And then my brain went to, why would a teacher do a 43 question test? That's insane. What teacher doesn't go, let me go down to 40 or go up to 50? What lunatic goes, you know what? That's the exact amount of questions that need to be on the test is 43. The whole thing made me question my education. I was distraught.
Because she's got her abacus out.
Yeah, I was moving beads. There was all kinds of stuff going on.
Like, they started with 40 and they're like, I just need to get these extra 3 in. I feel like they belong in this test, but they couldn't let that go.
She showed me my score. It said 40 out of 43. I was like, yeah, I didn't enjoy grammar school the first time I did it, and I'm enjoying it way less this time.
Oh, yeah.
What's that like for you, just kind of you getting a score that low as an adult?
Oh, no, I blame my daughter and walked away. It's nothing I did wrong.
You put it on her?
She looked at his daughter and he goes,
I was
you're
really
bringing
proud of
me
her.
down.
I've been really proud of her. We just got a report card, and she did really well. And she improved in all these areas. And I'm really, honestly, as far as home, like my other daughter's kindergarten, she's never gone to school. She's only done, her only norm is Zoom school.
Right.
Insane. We don't even know the other kids in her class. We don't know them.
It's better.
We don't know them at all. It's painful. And she's like, someday she's like, I don't want to do this. And I'm like, I don't want to do this either. Neither of us want to do this. We're here. We can't get out of this thing. And so I applaud them every day. I'm like, you guys are super. Honestly, because, and we're lucky we're in a really cool little Catholic school, and they do a great job of structuring it. So I'm not really homeschooling. It's Zoom, it's remote learning, but this morning she's like, hey, can you help me find page 240? I was like, it's up in the 200s after the 230s. You'll find it. But she doesn't. She's like, what's next on my schedule? And I go, well, just what's your schedule say? And she goes, I can't read. I'm in kindergarten. I go, oh, yeah. Go through it.
That's loser talk.
That's the snacks. Oh, that's so funny. I went to Costco wholesale, and those are, can you see them? Those are all the snacks, the boxes of snacks for the kids, because I was like, look, I'm not like breaking out. This is snack packs, pretzels or Pirate's Booty or Annie's favorite little things, or fruit snacks or Nutella or Fig Newtons or Oreos or Trail Mix. The protein shakes are mine, but that's totally different.
Sure they are. We believe you. We totally believe you. Show me your fingertips. I want to see if there's any orange goldfish dust on them.
He's been all over that Pirate's Booty.
So, guys, talking about what kids have no idea of, right? And you hear kids today bitching about it. Like my one son, he's like, yeah, I want to wait for the new game system to come out because the graphics on this other game system just aren't that good. And I'm like, really? I play their video games or I watch them play their video. It's like you're watching a movie. I go, let me show you my favorite video game. This was Raiders of the Lost Ark, Atari 2600. Are you ready, gentlemen?
Boop. Boop. Boop.
That's it.
Boop.
That's the game.
What is
Avoid the
what
snake.
do you do in this game?
What do you mean? What do you do? You're looking for the Lost Ark, you moron. It's right in the name of the game. Come on.
Dude, they're killing Nazis. You're doing. I saw the whole thing, Dave. It's a fantastic game.
It is. I played that thing. I used to sit there for like 8 hours trying to master that game before there were cheat books. And then my kids are complaining to me that their game graphics aren't up to standards.
What system are they using?
I think it's tied into the Hadron Collider. I'm not sure. Amazing. It opens new worlds.
In CERN? Are we all off to CERN for the Hadron Collider?
Yes, that's where the games are coming from. They're amazing.
Yeah, they are. I'm going to tell you guys a horrible confession is that and my wife doesn't appreciate it at all, is that I do not play video games at all.
I don't either.
I didn't even really as a kid. Like we had Pong and then Galaga, little Pac-Man, but nah, I'd rather watch like an old movie. I'm not for some reason. And I see them and I'm like, my kids actually love, you know what we got them for Christmas was Nintendo Switch and they play Super Mario Kart. And honestly, I've played it and it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun.
We just got the new augmented reality version of that has an actual remote control car with a camera that you drive around your house and you make the track in your house.
Wow.
And then it transmits it back to your Switch and it puts graphics in. So like your cat is in the game, like you drive past your cat, it's in the game. It's crazy.
What's it like to be rich, Jason?
Yeah, what's that like?
I can't even play video games. All I can do is watch old videos.
I'm so jealous of Jason right now.
Don't be.
He really has.
You're way better looking than me.
Yeah, my giant. I'm looking at my cranial skull. This is awesome, dude. Hey, thank you for having. By the way, this was fantastic because it was like, oh, guys, with my wife, I was like, I gotta go do this podcast thing. And she's like, really? And I go, yeah, it's pretty big.
No, it's a big show. Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files is going to be on it, honey. I got to be there.
Actually, can I be honest with you, Dave? He told me you were on it. I was like, I'm in. I'll be there.
Oh,
I love you, brother. It's so much fun to chat with you. And it's so funny because I see your stuff online and it makes me laugh so hard, dude, the stuff you're doing. It's kind of funny. You're like, I mean, you just have the whole Holzer Files paranormal world, but then you are such a dad. I mean, you are like, you're like position A for dad. I mean, you will have, 47 children, is it? How many do you have?
Well, it's like 38% of the kids in Minnesota are his.
And the other 63% are like, maybe. We don't know yet.
It's cold.
I bet that the greatest fear in Dave Schrader's life is a 23andMe test.
No, I maybe you haven't heard this story. I did Ancestry.com after my mom.
Oh, I have heard this.
And found a daughter I never knew existed. And we connected. We had a great time. And then this last year when I was filming Holzer Files, I got an email and my biological father and my sisters found me. So it's been great. I have no problem finding more family. I'm all Brady bunched out, man. I want kids. I want big families. So I'm all about the Schrady Bunch stuff.
I love that, man.
That's awesome.
It's fantastic. I haven't done the ancestry thing. I probably should because I was single for a long time. There's gotta be.
I
I was a Navy, then I was a bartender, then I was a comedian and an actor. I did
a couple of redheaded stepchildren out there, you think?
There's some things that happen around the world. So we'll see.
Things.
You know what's really funny? A really good friend of mine who's similar age, mid-50s, got a phone call out of the clear blue. And it was a kid who was like 30 years old. And he said, "You're my dad." And I should have, Jason, when we do the other thing, we'll have him on.
Okay.
Hopefully he'll talk about it. He's a fantastic musician. He has no kids of his own. He's married. He's a musician. He travels. He's in a cool band. And this kid called him and was like, "Hey, I think you're my dad." And it turned out he was like, "What?" And the kid, he explained the whole situation. It was a woman he kind of barely saw back in Massachusetts. She never told him that she was with child, and she went back with her family and raised the kid. And the kid got to be in his late 20s or 30s. And obviously, I would want to know. Wouldn't you want to know and kind of reach out? Of course, you want to know where we're here, we're part of a giant chain. And so the kid reached out and they kind of connected. And my friend, he didn't really know what to do. So he was kind of like, listen, I'm here for you. If you ever want to call me, you're more than welcome to. It's been 30 years. I didn't know if, I'm not going to be the one who reaches out to you unless you want me to. It was just this weird thing of like, how would you guys respond if somebody reached out at that point and said that to you? What would you say?
Wow. I mean, I guess I would try to be as open and understanding, trying to see, what it was like coming at it from their perspective. Like I would want to know if I were them. So I guess I would try and approach it with that way. But I also would be like terrified that I would do some sort of lasting damage like I'm doing to my own kids.
That would be the funniest to be like, hey, listen, man, I love it that you found me, but honestly, nothing good can come from this. I can really F you up worse than, so you know what? I got some other friends you should call and tell them you're.
Well, I got that call. When I saw that I was connected to this girl on Ancestry, and then realized who her mom was my old best friend from across the street, and I was like, "What? This is my kid!" And I reached out to her, and I just started dating Winnie, and I was, I'm rocking the cradle of love. My wife is 14 years younger than me, right? And we're hanging out, and I turned to her and I'm like, I have a daughter. She's like, oh my God, that's so exciting. And I go, she's 2 years younger than you. And then my wife goes, and it was just like this air kind of let out of the room for a second. I'm like, at least you're older than her. So that's still cool, right? We're okay. We're okay. So yeah, that's a
positive attitude. And that's what I love. It's so funny because I come from an Irish Catholic repressed family, and I'm done with it. We don't do that. I used to do a joke about like, I only know love through a firm handshake. That was it. And listen, man, we're all here. We have one journey. And Dave, you know better than most, and Jason, about like, because you guys talk about people in the afterlife and stuff, and
right.
We're here for one brief period of time. It's like, there's no secrets, man. We're here, we're living it, trying to get through this thing. So anytime there's a connection with another human on earth, to be like, hey, you're mine, we're connected. I love it. I think it's fantastic. And I'm always amazed when people are like, I don't want to be part of that. Really? How hard is it to just connect with another human being? To me, that to me what makes us human. So I don't know.
Dave, what was it like for you finding your biological father?
It was pretty astounding, because the guy who I thought was my biological father, and I reached out to him when I was 21, sent me just hate-filled, nasty letters and threatened me, and was just a horrible piece of garbage. And here I've held this. Now I connected with his other son, and we became very tight, my brother Lee. And this is, Jim, you were just talking about making connections. That was a tough call for me. I had to call my brother Lee and say, buddy, we're really not related. I'm not his son. And he goes, oh, good for you. You escaped it, but we're still brothers. And that just kind of hit me in the heart. And I was like, yeah, we are. And that spoke volumes to me. That's what family's about. So we're not close. We live in two different states and have two different lives, but we touch base a couple times a month and do that. So you just, you do that. But even with this new family, I'm going out at the end of the month. My bio dad's getting his second COVID shot. He lives alone. So I wanted to go out there. I'm all the rest of my sisters and brothers work and are tied up. I'm doing my podcast and stuff, so I could do it from anywhere. So I said, well, let me come just be with you, because that second shot can really knock you on your ass. And my bio dad's a Steven Seagal in his cool days, right? I mean, he's been burned and blown up and shot and stabbed, and he was a cop and undercover and Navy, and he's all this, and he's just a tough guy. But I know the COVID shot can knock you on your ass. So I just wanted to go down there and be with him. But it's this nice, you know, I mean, he's really just celebrated, I think a week ago, our Father's Day, I said, because it was that time. But he's been great with my kids and my wife. He loves her, wants all of us to come visit. And, you know, he's just a wonderful guy.
Can you fill me in? So I'm so confused because you grew up with adopted parents or with somebody?
No, my mom kept me. My mom was you know, she was a 60s hippie. So she was dating a few guys at the time. And she had dated the one more regularly and then met my bio dad.
Did she think the one more regularly guy was the guy?
Yeah.
She always thought. Did you
Yes.
look like him? Was there similarities?
Well, that's the funny thing. So when I first reached out to my brother, I wrote to him through like classmates or whatever. And I'm like, I found him in his school and we exchanged emails and then we started exchanging phone calls. And he goes, I don't know, man, I'm looking at your pictures and you don't look like Dad. And he sent me over some pictures. And as I look at these pictures, I go through my drawer and I start scanning pictures of myself and you put them side by side and boom, we look like we could be related. Then when I went there to meet him, I got to meet him on my birthday. He picked me up at the airport and we got a chance, but we're sizing each other up. He's like 6'3" and a full head of hair. And I'm 6'1" and bald as a cue ball. And we're kind of looking at each other and we both have totally different looks and faces. And we're like, oh, we're not brothers. There's a mistake. And then his mom shows up. She wanted to come meet me. She knocks on the door and he comes in and she looks at him and she goes, oh my God, he looks just like your father when I met him. But it wasn't my bio dad. My bio dad.
That's
right?
crazy, dude.
I spent 20 some years thinking he was my dad. And then so relieved to realize he's not.
That's so crazy, man.
Yep.
So we had a comment from the chat. Hold on here.
Go ahead.
I reached out to my father when I was 18. He lied over and over again. He said he screwed up when he told me I had a sister. He took me 9 years to find her. I haven't had the chance to meet her in person yet, but hopefully soon. I'm still looking for another sister. And she's asking, I love hearing what you guys would do if this happened to you. Good men.
That's awesome. You know, actually, Dave, this would be a great show, man.
Dave is currently taking a shit.
He's fine. He's still there. But
sorry,
Jason,
I had to blow my nose and I didn't think you'd want to watch me on camera.
There's no secrets between us. I think there's a real market for that show of like, family secrets, because listen, dude, I grew up in a family where here's what's funny. I was living on the West Coast. Like I couldn't wait to get away. Like as soon as I graduated college, I went to San Diego. I was like, I'm out of here. I couldn't be around. I don't know. I love my family. But, you know, we have our issues. We're Irish Catholic lunatics. And then I talked to my mother one day and she was like, oh, Aunt Joan died. Did you not know Aunt Joan died? I go, no. When did she die? She's like, oh, like a year ago. I was like, wait, I'm sorry, what? And it was like crazy stories of like, she died how? What? Like my mother was like, oh yeah, we don't talk about that. That was our family. We don't talk about that. I became, of course, a stand-up comic, and every joke I tell is autobiographical. People will come up after and go, that didn't happen. I go, it happened actually verbatim. I wish I was a better writer, but I'm not. I only write things that happen to me. Exactly.
So you're not really.
They happen to me.
He's not even that funny.
No, it's not really. I did my first show. My wife, I was headlining the Gotham Comedy Club in New York, and my wife's whole family came. At the end of the show, they were like shell shocked. They were like, "That's the guy you're seeing." And I had told stories on stage that were just like, they were like, "That guy's effed up, man. You might want to," because I just there's no secrets with me. Like no one in my whole life's ever gone, I wonder what Jamie's thinking. Never. Because I'm done with it, man. And I think it's such a healthier way to live, because we keep all these crazy secrets instead of being, look, we're all human, man. We're all going through the same trials and tribulations. And at the end of the day, we're trying to like just have great lives for our kids and trying to take care of our family. And that's really it. And yet we get caught up in all this garbage during the day. And so it's so wonderful to hear stories of families who have reached out and met someone and go, hey, my God, I'm your dad. And go like, all right, here we are. Well,
Jamie, I'm glad you said that, because the results are in and I am your father.
Honestly, Dave, I knew it the first time I met you. I met you with that. We were doing Haunted Salem Live, and I go, that dude's my dad. Knew it immediately.
That dude's your dad.
I'm pretty sure John Lovitz is my real father.
Honestly, that could easily be.
Yeah.
It's so weird to me when people just get caught up and go like, "Oh, I couldn't possibly. I want to be part of that." You're like, dude. And so it's so funny because I talk to my kids like they're adults. I go, "Hey, here's like my father." This I don't want to bogart the whole story, but my brother went on a ballistic mission to like he has gone down the wormhole of like finding my family's history through history. From the Mayflower, I had relatives on the Mayflower, all the way through. We had a piano factory in the early 1800s in Maine. And so he found a yearbook from my father from Milton High School in Massachusetts from like 1939, I think it was. And my father, who raised, I was the youngest of 6, sold cars, was just kind of a curmudgeon, drank Schlitz every night, wasn't really an artistic guy. I find out was in the school play. He played piano. They had all these photos of him playing piano, and he was a cartoonist. He was the high school cartoonist. Never knew that guy.
That's cool.
Really crazy, right? And it's so crazy as we grow older that we kind of lose these childhood ambitions, and just he raised 6 kids on it selling cars, and so he all that stuff kind of fell by the wayside. But it's so weird to see your history from before you of your parents and stuff. So it's always cool when you can go, "Hey, you're my dad, man. Who are you? Where do I come from?" I think it's cool.
I think whenever I get brought up in front of my dad, you know the meme of Homer Simpson just sinking back into the bushes, and that's kind of like my dad with me, like my old dad.
Yeah, I don't believe that.
He just sinks back into the bushes. I've never heard of him at all.
It's funny.
There's no possible way that boy is my son. Oh, come on, Jamie Kaler.
Oh, that sounds like every Easter I've ever had, Dave.
That's really funny, Dave. Dave, who knew
you going to bring the ham?
That's funny, man.
Yeah, listen, I've been excited, but I found my daughter here. And here's the cool part, Jamie. So find my daughter. We keep in touch. My wife and I set a date. My daughter gets ordained through the Universal Church of Life and comes to Minnesota to meet me the first time to preside over our wedding.
That's cool.
So the first time I got to meet my daughter, she was our so I figure there's a loophole. So if I ever want out, I can be like, I don't know who this girl is. She's a wackadoo.
That's funny.
My wife's sitting there going,
yeah, I feel like there's a real show there too. Like, I think that would be something that would be great for Discovery, is a show about connections and families. And that is kind of the weird thing. It's all the serial killers from the 70s and 80s are like, oh shit, man. Shit. I got that stuff buried in the closet, but shit, I don't know. Some second cousin comes out and gets their blood typed, and all of a sudden I get blasted,
I wonder how many serial killers are on 23andMe.
They're not. They don't have to be. That's how they caught the Golden State Killer.
Right, I know.
From his relatives. They can, all of a sudden they go, dude, they knew it immediately. It was that cat because of other people from his family tree who had been on 23andMe, and they traced the lineage back to him, and they knew it was in this one parameter, and they just went and interviewed and met all the people who it could possibly be, and they were like, well, obviously it's you.
It was the guy eating a burger with a butcher knife in his hand.
It's you.
I think that's him. Yeah.
After the show, I'm going to have to go visit some relatives and clean up some messes.
Yeah, I think it's cool, but it's funny. I haven't done 23andMe, and for no other reason. I'm not a serial killer that you know of, but it's so weird. Like, my wife and I are so different. Where some nights she'll like look back and just look through old photos and stuff. I'm like a horse with blinders. I'm always moving forward. So I never really think about it. Even when my brother sends me stuff, I crack some joke and move on. I'm like, I don't know why. My brother is so entrenched in our history as a family, in our tree, in our lineage. I couldn't care less. I don't know why. I probably will maybe one day, but I'm not there yet. I don't really care about it whatsoever.
Do you guys see, now that you're dads, do you see the way you measure time differently? Because I look at, listen, I'm 53. Theoretically, they're saying 75, 77 is the average lifespan of a white American male. So I'm like, oh, that's not really that many more years left. But 365 days a year, blah, blah, blah. But now it's kind of boiling down to important things. Like, boy, that's really only like 23 Christmases left. That's only 23 more seasons of the Vikings breaking my goddamn heart. I'm just saying there's only certain levels that I start to look at. And those are the measurements that I look at now. And I look at my kids and, even my grandson who was born, he's 3 months old. And my other granddaughter, who I swear was 2 or 3, is about to turn 5. And you're like, how? My oldest son is 33 years old. My oldest daughter is a stone's throw away from 40. And I'm like, how can they all be this old and I'm still 17 mentally, right? But sure. I just look at that. Do you guys feel affected now that you have kids? Do you see the way you measure time differently?
Go ahead, Jamie.
No, you go, Jason.
I absolutely, for me, I pay attention a lot more to like the details of events like Christmas and stuff than I did like when I was a kid. Like it was all about me and what I want, but I want to like give my kids those memories. So I kind of like create each thing because I want that lasting memory. So like I make as much of magic as I can with a Christmas every time so that they walk away with that long after I'm gone.
I think that's cool, man. You know what's funny, Dave? So when I got out of the Navy, I started improv. I fell in love with improv immediately. A friend was in an improv group. He was like, "Hey, you should come. There's some really hot women." And I was like, yes, I'll be there. And as soon as I got on stage, I'd never really acted until I was like 30. And then I just loved it. And so I started this improv, and I really immersed myself in improv. And the whole thing about improv is be in the moment. You are there. So you're never thinking about the next beat. You're never thinking about the past. You are here and now, and you are trying to respond as honestly as you can to what is happening in the moment. And in an odd way, it's kind of trained my entire life that way, because in the same way I don't look back, I'm not looking 20 years down. I should. I don't. I'm like, and it's kind of served me well in so many ways because I am here and this is now. And sure, I'm not stupid enough to like just blow money and not. I definitely have a plan and there's a future and stuff, but I don't think that way yet. I think about like tomorrow I'm homeschooling kids, so I'm literally like here. I don't know why. I've always been that way, and that might be. I mean, comics, so I'm criminally insane. I think we all know that. But I don't really look that far ahead, and I don't look back, and I'm just kind of trying to navigate the here and now and trying to I joke about the fact that I'm always trying to live my life with the most amount of joy and the least amount of pain humanly possible. That's it. Every moment is how do I get through this with the most joy and the least pain. So I don't know. I do. When you talked about that though, Dave, I was like, oh yeah, I guess I only have, because I'm older than you, Jack. I'm 56 and I have a 6-year-old kid. And I'm like, oh dude. So yeah. I'm cognizant. Like I do the math in my act where I'm like, when I'm 70, they're going to be like, going to choosing colleges. But, I don't know, man. I love the two of you guys too. Also, you guys have lived your life to the, you lived your life to the fullest. You're not going to look back and ever go like, oh, I wish I'd have done this, or I wish I'd have, followed. It's like you lived it. And so it is what it is. I mean, obviously I'm going to live to 140. That's my goal, but we'll see.
Well, I plan on living to 140 and siring at least 30 more children. So
you may. I don't know about you. Dude, your seed is strong.
Very strong.
Game of Thrones, you would own the most thrones. Let's just say.
I actually got pregnant just having him on the show twice.
I think if George Lucas read my story, and that's how Anakin Skywalker came along. That whole midichlorian nonsense. It was just Schrader sneezed naked outside one night. Boom.
You're like a gremlin.
Yeah. Though, Jimmy, I respect that, because living in the moment, I've talked to people, doing a paranormal radio show, and I say, Isn't it weird how when you're like in a car accident, once your brain clicks in and you go, holy shit, I'm in a car accident, everything slows down. And I remember driving on 35W here in Minnesota with my son. We were going up to do something, and we're driving along, and all of a sudden I hit a patch of ice and my car just starts to spin. This is during rush hour, and there's cars. And I just, as soon as it starts spinning, I look over at my son and I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be bad. Right. And we have this long conversation, and he's like, it's not your fault, Dad. And I said, I know, but I should have been more aware. It's icy roads. I remember having this long dialogue, and the car is spinning and cars are whizzing past us and trying to miss us. And then the car goes down into the ravine and then starts to come up on the other side into oncoming traffic.
Oh my God.
And the whole time we're just having this, it's never, it's just, oh buddy, I just want you to know I love you. No matter what happens in a few minutes, I just want you to know I love you with all that I am. I know, Dad, I know it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And then the car stopped. But I sit there and I think, in that 12 seconds, I was there. I wasn't worried about writing a joke. I wasn't worried about who my guest is going to be next week on the show. I wasn't worried about, oh God, what's on WandaVision? Is that this Friday, or was that the last season? None of it. In that moment, I snapped in, and I was in that moment. And I realized maybe the way to beat time is to become part of time and be more in that instant. And I tell myself that I'm still not good at it. I'm on my phone. I'm distracted all the time. But I want to learn to get into that kind of Zen Jamie Kaler thing where you kind of are right here, right now. Because, and maybe I need to take an improv class or do something to start teaching you how to be present, because I see that's an important thing. And I just watched a great documentary, The Zen Diaries of Gary Shandling. And it's so amazing. And you see his notes, and he's always about be here, be now. And you see that he shaped his destiny by doing these things and setting them in motion. And listening to what you're saying, Jamie, it just puts me into that mindset that maybe as humanity, so that we can enjoy the mysteries, we can enjoy finding family, we can enjoy things. We're not always so stressed out because we're right now. We can absorb every second of this moment that we're sharing together.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. You know, Shandling, I'm a huge Shandling fan. And the problem there is that he would preach that, but I think in practice, he never really found it because he never had that family connection. You know, he was always an aloof, offset being. A genius comedian. I mean, just a destroyer on stage, man. If you ever saw him do his actual stand-up act before the Gary Shandling show, just a crusher.
Right.
But I feel like there was this thing and it's always, dude, it's like meditation or something where you're striving for the perfection that no one will ever reach. But to be in the moment, you know, Bill Murray has this great quote where he's like, I just knew when I didn't care and I was in the moment, I was performing at my best. And so he was able to adopt that earlier. And you can see it in every performance. You forget he's acting. Those aren't his lines.
Right.
He's throwaways. He's just talking. Like James Garner in a way where you're like, that dude's an actor. But they have so in the moment. They're so in the moment. They just throw it away. It's aloof. They have this ability to throw that away. And so it's always it's the perfection that we strive for, to try to achieve that. And listen, on a daily basis, it comes and goes. It comes and goes where I'm hanging on to it, and then it's gone. And then, but I do think doing all the improv training I had over those years, I really immersed myself. We did crazy exercises on stage where people would yell at you and you'd just be like, you try to respond like it didn't matter. And I mean, crazy things you would do. But in a way, it did train me to go, I'm here. This is now. How do we move forward from here? And in a way, it served me well. You know, talk to my wife, though, when she's like, shut the fuck up with your bullshit. Actually, you know what's funny, Dave? I wrote a book. I'm kind of working on editing it, and maybe you can help me edit it. But I have a book I've written that is those lessons that I have accumulated over life, and whether they're, you know, worth anything to other people, I don't know. But I definitely have I mean, I think we all do. Like, we have such an opinion of like how to live the perfect life, whether we can do it or not. It's like life coaches. Every life coach I know is like, like filing bankruptcy, and you're like, you're a life coach. And you're like, yeah, I can tell you, those who do, and those who can't coach. That's just the way it goes.
Well, I think you should write this book and make it for parents to learn how to be in the moment, to be this. And a great title for the book, Dadpocalypse. Wow.
I'll allow it.
I'll have to clear it with Jason's lawyers. We'll work on that.
I'm my own lawyer. You're good.
I'll tell you what it is, actually. It's the unmotivational speech. I actually already wrote it. I'm going to send it to you, Dave, and I want you to read it for me because I need to. But I'm trying to unmotivate people because I feel like sometimes motivation is, like sometimes it's just sit back, just enjoy life.
I'm living the Jamie Kaler life. I'm unmotivated on purpose. When I lay in bed till 12 or 1, I'm doing you a favor. I'm allowing you to be in the moment with your son.
You've got to follow the whole program, though, dude. It's about if that's what you want to do, then don't spend any money, and you're going to be just fine. But if you like to spend money, you have to find that perfect crux of like, how hard do I have to work to earn just enough money to exactly have the perfect life that I want? And that's where it gets a little wonky.
Well, I know. I've been walking that line for 43 of the last 53 years. Dude, I've been out selling Lucky Rocks as a kid, Cub Scout cookies, or the little tins of peanuts that we were supposed to sell for $1.50. I sold them for $2.50. Nobody ever questioned it. I gave the $1.50 to the Boy Scouts. I kept the other $1 because I was the one working. I know how this whole thing works, right?
Dude, once the Holzer Files, like season 6 or 7, it's all gonna fall into place, man.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll get there. Yeah.
I honestly, dude, I mean, it is funny because once you have, dude, the show's so good and you guys, it's so much fun. And so it is kind of cool to kind of, we met on that other thing, but to see you kind of take off with this thing is kind of exciting.
Well, thank you, buddy. I appreciate that. And I know Jay's got to wrap things up, but I'm glad you were able to join in. I'm glad I could be here. I like this 3 of us roundtable.
I do too.
Anytime you guys want to come back, it's an open for you guys. Always are welcome.
All right, tomorrow 9 o'clock. Let's do it.
Sounds good.
I'm not leaving.
I have no life.
If my wife calls you, this show went till midnight, so everybody just relax.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys all for being here this week. Next week, we have author Jeff Belanger, who's going to be coming on to talk about his new book. And we will see everybody next week. Good night, everyone.